I'm going to be doing an intuitive piece, and this piece is going to take me on a journey of flowers, and these flowers are going to eventually transpire into forsythia, or what I interpret as forsythia. This painting is very loose. It's semi-abstract, so you're not sure exactly what it is you're looking at. I don't go in and create any kind of fine details to give it that hint of it. This is very semi-abstract. So let's get started here. I have got my favorite paper down. This is 100% cotton Fabriano Artistico Bright White. Okay, I love the bright white because I do so many flowers. The bright white helps with the translucency of the light that needs to happen and filter through the flowers. So it is my go-to paper. I highly recommend it. If you are somebody that loves to paint flowers and you like to do wet media and do a lot of water, then this is the paper for you. It's a workhorse. It can handle a lot of water. Now there is one point that this paper starts curling on me ever so slightly, and I have to go and I have to pick up the paper and I have to spray the back just to get it to lay flat. So, you know, you need to learn how to work with your paper too. As it's reacting, as it's reacting, you need to react. So that'll come into play. You'll see that happening. But right now I have got some, what do I have? I've got Azo Green by M. Graham going down. I also have a mixture of some browns that I had off on my tray, pre-mixed, and I used some of that. So this tutorial is not really geared around these are the colors I used kind of tutorial. So if you're looking for all that, I don't have all that information for you. And it's because I worked very intuitively. I don't even have the tray, the paint tray is cut off for me to even see which well my paintbrush was going into. And on top of it, I lost my cheat sheet to know what paints are what in which well. So I'm flying blind here myself. So use the colors that you have. Use your greens that you have, use the blues you have, use the purples that you have, use what you have, okay? If you don't have the spray inks, you can probably take, if you've got the little mister bottles, you can probably put some watercolor in that, mix it up with a little bit of distilled water and shake it up real well and spray that on your paper. Use what you have. When you're doing this intuitive artwork, it's all about really experimenting and expressing yourself on the paper, taking yourself on a painting journey and letting your instincts guide you. And sometimes you won't know why you're doing what you're doing, but you have to roll with it, okay? And you'll see that coming into play where I start doing some things here and I have to roll with it, and then I have to figure out how to pull it all together. So there's that. Now I'm creating a wash of blue on this side. The other side's going to have a wash of a light purple kind of color, and then the center is going to kind of remain kind of open and white. And as the colors start coming into play into this painting, it gives the it illuminates the flowers. Okay, so there's enough light to brighten it all up. So many times I see paintings and it's so, I'm guilty of it like the next person. We close our paintings in with too much paint. We get so eager when we're painting that we just paint, and we keep dumping it on until we have lost our white watercolor paper and it is completely covered in paint, and we have to figure out, what do we do? Well, sometimes you can use the white correction material that I love to use, and kind of tone that all down a little bit too and bring the light back in. So now you're seeing me play. See, I started doing this like little like plaid like pattern thing. I've been in this mindset. If you're on my Facebook group, it doesn't cost anything to join. It's a free group. You just have to answer some questions to get in. And if you're in that group, you know that I've been busy working on some abstracts, and they're very pixelated looking abstracts. So I'm in this like cubism kind of art thing. I've done a few of them in the past. It's just something that my brain likes to create little cubes. If I go back into looking at how I doodle over all the years of my life, there's one thing that I always do, and it's I always make little cubes. I draw little cubes. I do it over and over and over and over and over. I can doodle on a piece of paper when I'm talking on the phone and just make all kinds of little boxes or little triangles, and it's all over. And that's what I doodle. And that's like, there's a lot of muscle memory to that. And that translates into my artwork, where when I'm doing certain things, that comes into play. You see that happening in this vessel that I'm creating right now with these lines. Okay, so I'm kind of doing the same cubism kind of thing in my painting. It naturally is something that I want to do. Maybe you're somebody that likes to make squiggles. Maybe you make squiggle marks all the time. And you're going to find out when you're working intuitively that it's going to show up somehow, some way. It's going to start filtering into your art, and it's going to make you your own artist. You're going to have your own signature, okay, style. So that's my take on how those things kind of filter into our intuitive way of painting. So I don't typically sometimes I'll run music, but for the most part, when I work intuitively, I like everything quiet. I've gotten to the age now, I am just turned 60. I've gotten to the age where I don't want the TV running. I don't want the music playing. I just want quiet. I want everything to I want to decompress. I want to just paint and be in the moment. And so I don't have any of that filtering in. Okay? I am just being in the moment with my pigments, with the water, with the brush and the paper, and creating something out of nothing. It's amazing what we can do if we allow ourselves to be creative. Now, here's what I'm introducing into this tutorial that I've never used before for you guys. Now, I've done something before myself with this, but now I'm going to take you guys on this journey. I picked up this cotton trim. It's like doily material. It's like somebody crocheted it like a doily. And I've done things with doilies, okay? But you could even cut up a doily to do this. This was a trim that I found at a thrift store, and I'm bringing it into play. And I'm using it as a resist. Now, you could do this. You could do a resist with using maybe a clear crayon, or, use what you can find. You might have something laying around the house that has a texture to it that you could lay on your sheet of paper and create a neat texture. But just know, once you hit the spray ink and that air that comes out of the spray ink, you don't want it to fly away. So it needs to have a little bit of weight that's holding it down on the paper, so nothing gets underneath it, no air flips it up and makes it fly away. So keep that all in mind. So could you use a stencil? Yeah, you could use a stencil. So just think outside of the box of what you might have and get creative. I even thought about just pulling grass from outside and laying it on a sheet of paper and then doing something from it. Or pull a dandelion out of the ground with all the roots and everything hanging from it and lay it on your sheet of paper and spray around it. Just be creative. Do stuff outside of the box. Think outside of the box. What can I do? What can I bring in? What kind of different textures can I introduce? I know there's like the product Brusho. I need to do something with Brusho. It's just so messy. And grind it into your painting. Do something, just use a little bit of it and maybe grind it into a certain area. Do something unique, set your painting that you've created, set it apart. So I encourage that. Think outside of the box, be creative, and be in the moment. So I'm still fiddling with this. I'm trying to figure out how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? How am I going to lay this down? So I end up laying it down, and then I go in and I spray it, and then I don't like how I carried it all the way across the sheet of paper on the left hand side, and then I bring out the correction material, Dr. P.H. Martin, and I cover up that left hand side, and you'll see that all coming into play here in just a few moments. But now the spray ink is going down. Now you don't have to use this spray ink. And if you do use this spray ink, it is in the description box, and pull down the description box. You can find it. It'll say spray inks, and then you can go in and it'll take you straight to Amazon and take you to the product. Click on that and buy it. And I make a small commission off of anything that you buy from that description box. So thank you so much for anybody that has been doing that. I greatly appreciate it. But you don't have to use this spray ink. You could, if you have some watercolor that's the dispersion kind, the Dr. P.H. Martin the Dr. P.H. Martin's watercolor, you could put that in a little spray bottle and use that. So think outside of the box. Okay, just know that when ink goes down, it stains and it's not moving. Now, if you're using a spray that's a watercolor, you might have some lifting capabilities and be able to do stuff. So just play around and experiment. So I put a little bit of tissue down, and I created a little bit of texture on top of that ink. So I sprayed it down, put a little tissue down, and then lifted a little bit of that ink up. Now I've got the Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, and I'm sprinkling that on, okay? Creating some texture. Now there's that left-hand side that I said that I was going to get rid of that left-hand side. But what I love now that's happening is that that product, which is a white watercolor, it's a pigment, and it's water. And that's how they make this, but it's very thick, okay? And it will hide mistakes. It can cover ink, okay? But it is kind of a bright white, so it works really well with this Fabriano paper, okay? It blends really nicely, where it would stand out even more on the traditional white. And it mixes with the pigments that are on the paper, and as you can see, it created a very kind of matte, opaque paint. It's not gouache, okay, but it's like gouache. So now I'm just bringing in a little bit more of that white. I'm just lightening up a certain area, but there's also a little bit of pigment mixed with it. And Having the right quill to do this is really important. If you use just a little dinky round brush, you're not going to get the same effect. So in the description box, you'll find a thing that says quills, and you'll find the quills in there. They are under $20 and they're really inexpensive, and they're a workhorse, and they do the job. They take a beating. I scrub with these things. I do. So I have had these brushes for so long, and they're fabulous. Are they starting to wear? Yeah, because I beat them up. I'm pretty rough with my brushes. I'm not very good with that kind of stuff. So now I'm just making some of these greens for my container. And you go about making your greens however you make your greens. I'm just keeping them very loose. And what's gonna end up happening here is that container is gonna continue on over to the right. So I'm gonna have to build up this side with green here in a few. And right now I'm just bringing a little bit more of that blue into the center and taking that 1-inch flat brush and kind of running it through that area. And so it's picking up some of the green paint, and it's mixing a little bit with the white, and it's creating this backdrop. Am I worried that it's making striations and lines? Absolutely not. Because it's all going to be in the background. Okay, so now I'm just bringing in, I think this is under sea green. So I'm bringing in some darker greens to the foreground where the leaves are closer to you. And so I'm bringing that into play, whereas the other ones look like they're more in the background. So creating just a little bit of depth of field there. And now I'm going to go in and I'm just grabbing just a little bit of that purple, and I'm just tapping it along the edge there and creating just the edge of the vessel. It is just a flat vessel. It is not a rounded one. So therefore it is not going to have a curve to it. It's going to be straight. And there I thought I was going to cut it and do a container like that. And I decided, nope, I'm going to take it all the way across, but I have to fill that right-hand side in with greens now. So that's what I'm going to do. And what's kind of cool, and I didn't realize what I'm doing, but now that I'm watching this, I'm seeing that the right-hand side where the blue is, the darker green is there. And in the center where the white is where a lot of that azo green and that brown, that light brown that I had comes into play. And then the other side, the left, is dark again. So it kind of has that variation. So I kind of like that center area, those leaves are a lot more yellow, whereas the right and left, they're darker. So it just really seems like the light source, the main light source, is right there in the center. And you're going to see that play out even more as I create the depth of field with the spray ink, which is happening right now. Now I'm going in and I'm spraying this ink in strategic areas to set the depth of field. And that's another color. Definitely give me a thumbs up. If you like this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me within the YouTube community. What it does is it helps me get out there to other people that don't even know about me yet. Surprisingly, you'll be shocked how many people don't know about me. So I'd appreciate it. That helps me grow my YouTube audience. And right there you see me using my hand to squeeze that quill. There I go. And why I'm doing that is I want to create larger splashes that makes it feel like that flower's a little bit closer to you. Now, what it did was create a huge puddle of water too. So that's why I always have my 1-ply toilet paper that I use ready. And when you're working with this much water, you've got to have your whatever, you have to have something to mop up all the water and control the water. And if you watch my other videos, I will educate you of how to control that water with this toilet paper. So please watch, if you're new, please watch a lot of the other tutorials. You'll get a better understanding of why I do certain things. I ran away. Where did I go? There I am. Now I ran away again. Oh, I'm getting the, I believe I'm grabbing, what am I doing? Oh, I had to get another container of bleed-proof white. And I'm going to shake some of that down. Now that's going to start mingling with some of that blue and creating cool effects. I like to call them like bokeh effects, natural bokeh effects that happen in the background. But it also kind of gives an appearance of flowers within the arrangement also. So some of that yellow is mixing with the white and causing it to be like a really soft yellow color without me having to do all the work. I like to do a lot of this splashing with watercolor. Maybe I should be known as the duck of watercolor. I like to splash around. Deb the duck. Okay, Bombay Indian ink is what's happening here right now. This is just brown, and I'm just using the applicator tip, and I'm creating small lines that are creating small lines that are kind of basically connecting these dots, literally, and making them feel very twig-like. Because if you look at forsythia, they have like a brown twiggy stem, and so as soon as this started happening and I stepped back, I'm like, wow, I think I just created forsythia. And the green has kind of calmed down a little bit. It's not so prominent as it was before. Those leafy greens, although they are there, they've calmed down. And now I am running that applicator tip all over, and you might be wondering why I'm doing that. I just like that to be a visual interest for others when they walk up to the piece, that they see little fine lines dancing all over the sheet of paper. But for the most part, this is my painting. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I definitely would like that. Until next time, you guys.